Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to control life, the more everything seems to fall apart? You push harder at work, yet success feels further away. You chase happiness, yet anxiety follows you. You try to make people understand you, love you, respect you, yet somehow the distance between you and them only grows. Most people spend their entire lives believing that force creates results. They are taught that if something is not working, they simply need to push harder. More effort, more control, more pressure. But what if this belief is the very thing creating their suffering? Ancient Taoist masters observed something that few people understand even today. They looked at rivers, forests, clouds, and mountains. They noticed that nature never forces anything, yet everything gets accomplished. The river does not fight the rocks in its path. It flows around them. The tree does not struggle to grow every second of the day. It grows naturally, season after season. The sun does not force itself to rise. It simply appears and darkness disappears. Yet human beings often live in complete opposition to this wisdom. We force conversations that should end. We chase opportunities that are not meant for us. We hold on to relationships that are already fading. We fight reality itself, believing that resistance will somehow change what is. And in doing so, we create exhaustion. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most frustrated. Chances are, you were trying to control something beyond your reach. Maybe it was another person's opinion. Maybe it was the outcome of a situation. Maybe it was your own timeline for success. The more you tried to grip it tightly, the more stress entered your mind. This is one of the greatest paradoxes of life. Sometimes the obstacle is not the challenge itself. Sometimes the obstacle is your desperate attempt to overcome it. The ancient Taoists called this imbalance a separation from the natural flow of life. When we become obsessed with forcing outcomes, we move against the current. Every action becomes heavier. Every setback feels personal. Every delay feels like failure. What begins as ambition slowly transforms into struggle. And the strange thing is that most people never question this pattern. They assume the answer is to push even harder. But the Tao teaches something radically different. It teaches that there is another way to live. A way that creates progress without constant struggle, action without exhaustion, and achievement without losing your inner peace. And understanding this principle may completely change the way you see your life. The ancient Taoists gave a name to this way of living. They called it Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action. At first glance, this idea sounds strange. Many people misunderstand it completely. They assume it means being lazy, passive, or avoiding responsibility. But Wu Wei means none of those things. It is not about doing nothing. It is about doing what is necessary without unnecessary struggle. Imagine an expert archer. When they first begin learning, every movement feels forced. They overthink their posture. They worry about every detail. Their mind is tense and their body follows. But after years of practice, something changes. The movements become natural. The arrow is released without hesitation. There is effort, but there is no strain. This is Wu Wei. The Taoists believe that the highest level of mastery is reached, not when action becomes harder, but when it becomes more natural. Look at some of the greatest performers in any field. Athletes often describe entering a state called flow. Artists lose track of time while creating. Musicians become one with the music they play. In these moments, they are not forcing. They are allowing. Their actions emerge naturally from complete presence. Yet most people spend their lives doing the opposite. They overthink every decision. They replay conversations in their minds. They constantly worry about the future. Instead of acting from clarity, they act from fear. And fear creates friction. The more friction there is, the more exhausted they become. Think about a time when you desperately wanted something, perhaps a promotion, a relationship, a specific outcome. Your mind became attached to one particular result. And because of that attachment, every obstacle felt unbearable. Every delay created frustration. Every uncertainty created anxiety. The goal itself was not causing suffering. Your attachment to controlling the outcome was. This is one of the deepest lessons of Taoist wisdom. Peace does not come from controlling life. Peace comes from learning how to cooperate with it. The river reaches the ocean not because it is stronger than every obstacle. It reaches the ocean because it keeps flowing, without panic, without resistance, without forcing what cannot be forced. And perhaps the same principle applies to your life more than you realize. One of the greatest sources of suffering is the belief that life should unfold exactly according to our plans. From a young age, we create timelines in our minds. We decide when success should arrive, when love should appear, when opportunities should come, when life should finally feel complete. But reality rarely follows these schedules. And when reality moves differently than expected, frustration begins. We ask ourselves difficult questions. Why is this taking so long? Why is everyone else moving ahead? Why are my efforts not producing immediate results? The more we ask these questions, the more trapped we become. The Taoists understood that much of this pain comes from fighting against reality. Reality simply is. The present moment simply exists. But the human mind constantly argues with it. We wish the past had been different. We wish the future would arrive faster. We wish people would behave according to our expectations. And because these wishes rarely come true, we suffer. Imagine standing in the middle of a powerful river. The harder you fight the current, the more exhausted you become. Eventually, your strength fades. Not because the river defeated you, but because resistance consumed your energy. Life works in a similar way. When challenges appear, we often react with force. We panic. We tighten our grip. We become desperate to regain control. Yet desperation clouds judgment. Fear weakens wisdom, and the struggle grows larger. The Tao teaches a different response. Instead of asking, "How can I force this situation to change?" ask, "What is this situation trying to teach me?" Instead of demanding immediate results, focus on the next right step. Instead of controlling every outcome, learn to trust the process unfolding before you. This does not mean giving up. It means acting wisely rather than reacting emotionally. Sometimes progress requires patience. Sometimes growth requires waiting. Sometimes the answer arrives only after we stop chasing it. And often, the moment we release our desperate need to control, everything is the moment life begins to move again. Because what we call strength is often force, but true strength is something much deeper. It is the ability to remain calm while the storm passes around you. There is a quiet power that emerges when you stop trying to control everything. Most people never experience it because they spend their lives in a constant state of resistance. They resist uncertainty. They resist change. They resist failure. They resist endings. Yet the Tao teaches that resistance is often the source of unnecessary suffering. Consider bamboo during a storm. When powerful winds arrive, massive trees sometimes break because they refuse to bend. Bamboo survives because it moves with the wind. It bends, it adapts, it yields, and because of that, it remains standing when the storm passes. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. The modern world often glorifies force. People are told to dominate every challenge, control every outcome, win every battle. But nature teaches a different lesson. The strongest things are often the most flexible. Water appears soft, yet over time it shapes mountains. The seasons change without effort. The moon influences oceans without struggle. Everything powerful in nature works through harmony rather than force. Human beings often forget this truth. When life becomes difficult, they immediately tighten their grip. They become rigid. They become fearful. And the fear itself creates more problems than the original challenge. Think about a difficult conversation. The more aggressively you try to control it, the more tension appears. But when you listen calmly and respond naturally, solutions often emerge on their own. The same principle applies to relationships, careers, personal growth, and even inner peace. Many people believe they must force transformation, yet real transformation often begins when they stop fighting themselves, when they stop criticizing every mistake, when they stop comparing themselves to others. When they stop demanding perfection, growth becomes possible when acceptance arrives. Not acceptance of staying the same forever, but acceptance of where you are right now. Because only from acceptance can true change begin. The Tao teaches that forcing a flower to bloom does not make it bloom faster. It only damages the flower. In the same way, forcing your life to unfold before its time creates frustration rather than progress. Patience is not passive. Patience is trust. Trust that every season has its purpose. Trust that growth is happening even when you cannot see it. Trust that what is meant to develop will develop in its own time. And perhaps the strongest thing you can do is not to push harder. Perhaps it is to stop fighting what already is. Because the moment resistance ends, clarity begins. And where there is clarity, there is peace. If there is one lesson the ancient Taoist masters wanted humanity to understand, it is this: life is not a problem to conquer. It is a process to participate in. The river does not ask where every turn will lead. The bird does not worry about tomorrow's wind. The forest does not rush toward the next season. Yet all of them arrive exactly where they need to be. Human beings suffer because they constantly stand between themselves and the present moment. Their minds live in future fears, past regrets, imaginary scenarios. endless expectations, and while they are busy trying to control life, they forget to actually live it. The Tao invites us to return to simplicity, to return to presence, to return to trust, not blind trust, but the understanding that life contains an intelligence far greater than our endless attempts to control every detail. There will always be challenges. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be things beyond your control. But suffering begins to fade when you stop demanding certainty from an uncertain world. The goal is not to become passive. The goal is not to stop acting. The goal is to act with wisdom rather than force, to move with life rather than against it, to flow rather than fight. And when you learn this, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes lighter. Your decisions become clearer. Your relationships become healthier, and your path becomes easier to walk. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you are no longer carrying the heavy burden of trying to control what was never yours to control. So the next time life refuses to follow your plans, pause for a moment. Ask yourself a simple question. Am I forcing this, or am I flowing with it? Because sometimes the greatest breakthrough comes not from pushing harder, but from letting go. And in that letting go, you may discover the peace you have been searching for all along. If this wisdom resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on where in your life you may be forcing what should simply be allowed to unfold. And remember, the more you force life, the worse it gets. But the more you flow with life, the more it reveals its hidden path.